Hi Aries, this is Kay. You're on the Collective Soul Tarot channel. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to your reading. I hope you're doing well. Yes, let's find out what Archangel Michael knows you should hear today. Okay, Aries. And if you like pick a card readings at all, I do have a sister channel, called Soul Seekers Tarot, where I do a Sunday pick a card reading for 3 piles to choose from. All right, let's find out what we've got here for you. Solving. All right, number 11. Now that's a master number. 11 is, so you're mastering a problem by finding a solution is what I'm getting from that. Solving. I'm going to read just a little bit to see if there's anything else that needs to be said about that. Okay, many fairy tale heroines are required to solve a riddle or some similar mystery before they can escape imprisonment or gain what they might need to move forward in their story. And so in Rumpelstiltskin, a young woman must guess the name of the little man who will otherwise take her newborn child as payment for helping her to spin straw into gold. In other fairy tales, it's the heroine who has the riddling ability and uses it to test others. In the Brothers Grimm story, The Riddle, for example, a princess declares that she'll marry any man who presents her with a riddle that she cannot solve. So riddles remind us that words have power, and especially when that riddle involves naming something or someone. Let's see, what's the riddle you need to solve, or the paradox you need to resolve in your life right now? It says, in the old stories, if you can name something, you'll have power over it. But more than anything, a riddle is a test. The solving of a riddle always requires the heroine to be quick-witted. However, because reciprocity is a stronger theme in fairy tales, usually the answer can only be come by with the aid of some creature or magical being that the heroine herself has helped. Okay, so I mean, in a nutshell, it's like you've got something that you need to solve. And it might seem like a little bit of a riddle to you, right? Well, hang on, let's do these ones. Something that could be a little bit confusing, right? It kind of goes this way and that way, and you know, it's just there's no straight line to finding a solution. Could be a little bit ambiguous, right? So the lizard we've got here, which is the Fool. The circle is complete. The adventure begins again. Decisions lead to change, and change forces decisions. So we've got a vehicle of sacrifice is the Fool. The planet is Uranus. Okay, so solving a problem about starting again, to to begin a new adventure, taking a leap of faith, taking a risk. So there's something that you need to bring clarity to. 7 of Cups, yeah, talk about bringing clarity to something. 7 of Cups is having all these opportunities, all these options, and not all of them are great options. Some of them got like snakes in the cup, but it's a matter of choosing one that you can focus on and take the mystery away, like remove the mystery and remove the chaos or the confusion of having, like, being overwhelmed with so many options, right? So we've got a situation that seems a little ambiguous for you. There's just no right direct path to finding a solution. So it could be like, you've got a keyhole and then you've got this big ring with all these keys on it, and that keyhole is to a door that sets you free. and you've only got so much time to set yourself free, and you got to use the key to do it, but there's like 100 keys on this ring, and you've got to figure out which key it is. So you might have to go through it meticulously, one at a time, knowing where you started, so that you don't end up going over trying the same one again. Let's find out what the Lenormand has to say. The Scythe, number 10. That's a new beginning. 1. New beginning by cutting away the old, or the harvest, right? What's ready to be harvested. Cutting away that which is matured. It's as far as it's going to go, like old belief systems, right? Old belief systems, negative patterns of thinking, how those negative patterns of thinking have been maybe causing you to stay restricted in some way, and not really being able to move forward in some situation. Or you're dealing with somebody who is putting the brakes on. Okay, so let's get some tarot to find out what's going on. One last one. Okay. We've got the Two of Swords. Okay, being blinded to what, there's if you've got a situation that needs to solve a solution, a problem that needs to be solving, but it's ambiguous. It's like, how do I solve this problem? How am I going to solve this problem? How do I get around this? How do I get over this? Like a mountain, right? How do I get around this and keep on going? Putting whatever is putting the brakes on for you behind you. So it's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. I don't have a solution. And that's where you say, okay, just not going to do anything. Like I don't know what to do, so I can't do anything. It's kind of out of my hands, right? But it really never is. To some degree, you can actually give your problem over to the divine, and the divine takes it for you. That's putting it back in your hands, because you're taking it and saying, here, take this for me. That's your solution, right? Your solution is to give it to the divine, because of the divine, and you have to give it 100% to the divine. You can if you want, but it doesn't work very well for you if you give it to the divine and then you start pulling it back through doubt, worry, concern, fear that it's not going to be, the problem's not going to get solved, like the divine's not going to help you for some strange reason, right? So we try to pull it back. Maybe not consciously doing it, just through the worries and concerns, we're actually pulling it back from the divine's hand and putting it back in our own hands where there is no solution. Then so you like blindfold your eyes and cross your arms to protect yourself. These birds are pulling at you, all these strings, like you're some kind of puppet, and you're all wound up in it, wound up in the strings. And so it's like, you always have a choice, and the choice is you choose this or you choose that, or you don't choose anything at all, and that's a choice. So at this point in time, your decision is to not, or at least it had been not, you decided that you just couldn't do anything, weren't going to be able to do anything, or not doing anything. But then when this card shows up, the divine is saying, you've got decisions to make, you've got to make them. 8 of Swords, because literally you got more now, more birds wrapping strings around you, which in your mirror image, you're all tangled up, because that's kind of like your mind is in that reflection of being all wound up in thought, but in reality you're not, because your mind is, it's in the ethers, right? It is the ethers. We don't see the mind, but we do see the mind, because we see everything that we see is the mind. But people don't see our thoughts. We don't see our thoughts, right? But they're there nonetheless. Thoughts are there, and they're the invisible thing about us, this invisible force or energy from us. And but when we're looking at the actual physical form, it's you without being all wrapped up. So you aren't all tied up, but in your mind you are. So in other words, since you aren't physically tied up and bound to being stuck, your release would be, your problem solution would be to unbound your mind, to unwrap all those ruminating thoughts of what am I going to do, how am I going to do this, when is, if I don't do this, this is going to happen, and you just, it leads from one disastrous thought to another kind of thing, right? So the solution would be to free your mind, so that you are literally, your mind and your physical being are in sync now. Because when you free your mind, you can move. But until you don't free your mind, and until you free your mind, even though you don't have any cords or ropes around you in the physical, it somehow is keeping you from moving, from progressing, moving forward towards whatever it is that you want to move towards. And with the King of Pentacles here, look at this guy here. He's got his act together. Okay, he's got his loyal friend, the dog or wolf dog, beside him. He's gray with a beard. He's wise. He's got a great big pentacle here, so it's kind of like a trophy in the sense that I have become so grounded and so learned in the 3D that I have also become wise as a result of living my life and doing it well. Living my life and doing it well. And he's got bookshelves here with all sorts of books on his bookshelves, and there's plenty of them. Looks like he's in a nice comfy chair. He's really relaxed. His legs are crossed. He's wearing jeans, nice soft jeans and a kind of a sweatshirt kind of thing. So he's been living life well because he's gotten over the idea of having his mind being wrapped up in turmoil. He's gotten over that. He's mastered that. That's why he's a king. He has mastered that, and you may be mastering that, or it's at least time for you to start mastering that. If this is going to be you see, right here, because the solution will be to take the blindfold off, make a choice, right? Take the blindfold off, take a risk, make a choice, cut away the fear-mongering thoughts you have roaring around in your head that keeps you kind of paralyzed to some degree from being able to progress or expand yourself in some way, in some area of your life. It could be in your work life, could be in your romantic relationship life, could be in family life, it could be in your health, and it could be definitely in your finances. And with the King of Pentacles, this is the energy, this is earth energy of and everything material, which includes finances, right? So King of Pentacles is about the pentacle, about the money in most particular, but it's also about a mindset. The pentacle is. So it's not about the thoughts, it's about a mindset, and he's mastered a mindset. Like I said, he's untangled himself. He's been there where you are right now, or where you're moving out of, because this is going to be your energy. And then you've got the Ace of Cups. And when you master something like that, the only thing left to do, when you start mastering your mind and you step into the energy of the King of Pentacles, who is a master of itself, he is a master manifester, as the queens and kings are. They're master manifestors. So whatever it is that they put their mind on, that's why you have to have a strong mind to focus your mind. When it starts going like this, and there's more chatter going on in your mind than is necessary, and it's getting in the way. So this person here, this energy here, masters his mind long enough to be able to focus on what it is that's important to them. And to the King of Pentacles, it's about, you know, material possessions. He's got his mind set. He's been able to kind of overhaul his whole mindset to become something that is successful, a successful thinking mindset. Not one that's all wrapped up in worry and concern and fret and doubt and fear and all that sort of stuff, right? What if this happens, that, this, and the other thing? They have been able to manage to control that. It's not necessarily about releasing it forever, like to letting go. It's like anger, in the sense that anger is always going to be part of you. It's like it's a human instinct. It's something that makes us flee, you know, fight or flight, right? It makes us flee when we approach or feel threatened, right, by danger. So anger is kind of like it's a release of the hormone in the center of the brain that causes the I think it's the amygdala that releases it, and then it causes the body to be ready for fight or flight. So it's good to have anger, but there's no problem with being angry, with being upset or mad whenever you need to or you feel like it. However, it's about managing it, about controlling it so it doesn't go off the rail and it ends up hurting somebody, if not someone else, yourself. And it could be that kind of hurt that you cause yourself or someone else, particularly someone else, that you may never be able to come back from, you know? So it's about managing it. And when you manage your mindset and you have got this strong mind now where you focus on what's most important to you in your life, Aries, you are then learning. The only thing left for you to do is to learn to love yourself. And as a king, you are already integrating that into you. You're integrating that it's important to do what matters to you, and that's why you're the King of Pentacles energy. You achieve. You successfully become a victor in your life. So you are an achiever, and you are quite rewarded by life in return, because you've got this magnet of, I'm focused, and I'm doing things that matter to me, and I won't be stepping on other people's toes unless it's appropriate. And that's a fine line, right? When is it appropriate, right? But this person's managed their energy, their mindset. They've got it managed. It's in control. And now the divine is saying, good work son, or good work daughter, whatever. And we're giving you a brand new outlook on life, like a new beginning, where the red carpet's rolled out in front of you and it's got love all over it. Love. Now, this doesn't have to be romantic love. It could be just love of your life. Things are looking a lot more free to you. You know, the problems are being solved easier. You're cutting away all that no longer does you any good, letting that go, and allowing whatever's left to grow and nurture, or you to nurture it, and for it to mature when it's time, you will cut that away too. But it's like the wave of, it's a wave of thinking, of a mindset. You have this particular mindset, and it's about always being open-minded enough to be able to say, I can think differently about this, or I can, I've always thought of it this way. And you might say, oh, geez, that's a different perspective than I've ever thought before, than I've ever heard before. You might start taking on someone else's perspective of something, things that you listen to, if you listen to programs and some guru or some like a Tony Robbins kind of person, or anyone else that you feel has got a lot of wisdom and great advice, to look at life in different ways than what you're used to, because it's your mind that creates your life experience. So it only makes sense that if you change your mind about things, okay, that your life starts changing too. Okay, and then you're going to love it. You're going to love it. The Divine says, trust me, you're going to love it. And look what we got here. We've got the Six of Swords. That's a solution. That's moving from rough emotional waters to calm emotional waters, taking the swords of wisdom with you. The 6 swords of wisdom. And you know, these birds are pulling you along now. They're pulling you like you know, they do with the tugboats, pull in the ferries or the big ship liners, whatever, container liners. I don't know what they do, but anyways, instead of the birds tangling you all up because you're in that mindset, hey, you know, I'm confusion on 2 legs right now. So then that's my mindset, which then means, while of course my experience is going to be, I'm going to be all wound up in confusion. Yeah, that life is going to present itself in a way that's going to continue to cement the idea that you should be confused. 7 of Cups, right? You should be confused. And then when you decide that you're going to free yourself, because all it takes is a matter of you managing your thoughts, you know, to establish a new mindset, a mindset that's more positive and more life affirming, in the sense that you're going to be thinking and doing things that's going to bring positive results to your life, happier times for you. And now these birds, because you're in a different frame of mind here, these birds are now towing you in to the shore, to a safe place. If it's a cove or whatever during a stormy night on the sea, they're towing you in. They don't have you all wrapped up anymore. And so then we have the moon. Well, the moon is, you know, deep introspective time. It's maybe not seeing things for how they really are. It's being afraid, possibly. It's seeing things, you know, something being hidden from you. Let's see what we got. Oh, look, the darn 7 of Cups again. 7 of Cups. Okay, so mystery seeks back into you. And this is, you know, this just speaks of life right here, guys, Aries, is that you're going to go through this process of changing your, you know, managing your thoughts in order for you to be able to see a different experience, because you have a problem to solve. When you are able to manage your thoughts and change your perspective, you change your life, because then problems, solutions suddenly arrive, just kind of like out of the blue, just like that. It's like, oh, well, that was easy. Why didn't I see that before? You know, where did that come from? Kind of thing. Then, you know, you get yourself into the, you know, it's a rough sea, whatever, you got yourself into a little cove area, and where the boat is not going like this, it's just kind of going like this. It's a good night to spend in the cove while the storm passes, right? But you're always going to, just like he says, like life, it comes in cycles. You're going to slip into fear at times and confusion. You're going to be feeling like, in this particular deck, these cups right here, you don't really see what's underneath all of them. It's kind of like playing snakes and ladders. And that's what I think it is, snakes and ladders. It's kind of like, you know, when the magician does the trick where they put a ball underneath there's 3 different cups upside down. You put a ball underneath one and they mix them all around like that, right? You don't know when you choose that one, you don't know if the ball's there or not. You just take the chance. But it could be monumentally disturbing to be in that kind of predicament, because it might be a situation where you really cannot afford to make the wrong choice. Okay, so you'll be slipping back into this again. You'll be slipping back into wanting to do this, but you will only probably go as far as back to this. So going from this to this is worse because you're blindfolded. And this is worse because you're blindfolded. But this one here is saying, I'm not making a decision. So you're still going to get all your thoughts and worries and concerns all wrapped up again in your mind. But you are not going to say, I'm not making a decision, because you've already learned that it's important to make a decision. It's important to say, okay, I don't feel so confident with this problem, with what's going on, the situation I'm facing right now at work or in this relationship or something, but I must make at least one choice. I must make a decision. Even if it turns out to be something that is not, the most favorable outcome, it's a decision. And when you make a decision that it's kind of like you get out of the chair, you're no longer an armchair astronaut just sitting there hoping to be an astronaut walking on the moon or discovering Mars. So it's like you get up out of the chair. Well, when you get up out of the chair, and think of it this way, the metaphor is that when you get up out of the chair, the other chairs in your room, if it's a couch or whatever it is, bed, let's say, you get up out of bed or you get up out of a chair, while the angels, the force of life, they get up out of the chair and off the bed, and they start dusting themselves off, right? They're like this, okay, he or she's ready. She or he's made their mind up. We got something to do today. Yay! We're going to do, so the angels are going to go before you. They're going to be behind you to support you, and they're going to be on either side of you to help, to walk with you. And so whenever you make a decision to move forward, then the angels are like, they're on the job now. But until you make that decision, the point is, until you make that decision, nothing's happening. Your time is just standing still, and it really isn't. But let's say you're 35 and you decide not to make a decision. Well, you become 45 years old and you're still in the same situation you were at 35. So time hasn't stood still, but you're still in the same place. I'm not saying you're doing this. I'm just giving you an example of that. So it's about making a decision, because the Wheel of Fortune is here. It's time for you to get that wheel moving in the direction that is no longer karmic, it is dharmic. And it's going to be moving in the direction where you're going to be feeling very fortunate. Abundantly, yes. Excuse me. But destiny-wise, for sure. Well, abundantly for sure too, okay? But destiny-wise, also destiny-wise. This is your destiny. It's your destiny to move forward, to expand your life and to grow and to make changes so that you can step into the best version of who you are, or a better and better version of who you are as you grow and learn. Learn to make decisions and find the solutions by going like this. Yes! Let's say that this is the problem. This wand right here is the problem that you need a solution to. Look what she's doing. She's got the divine inspiring her. It's in the palm of her hand, right? So it's because she's giving the problem, the wand, to the divine for the solution. So she gives the problem and the solution comes down into her hands. She's now got the solution in her hands, which is something that divine has concocted for her because she gave it to the divine in total faith. Queen of Wands, total faith and passion. She gave over what it was that she needed to give full-heartedly, like without trying to pull it back through worry and concerns. You think that this one worries and concerns? Look how happy she is. She's saying, oh, look at the solution. I'm so happy. Yeah, and so she's very happy, passionate about life, right? She's the queen. She's mastered. She's a master too. Seven of Swords, and then comes that stinking thinking again. But this time, you make a decision to go quickly to the higher authority. Okay, you quickly go to the higher authority. You're going to do with the Seven of Swords. You're going to try to. At first, it's going to be like this, and like this, right? But this, at this point in time, like I said before, this is not as intense. Yes, this is not as intense anymore. You're definitely making decisions. At this point in time, you weren't even wanting to make a decision. But then you've been like, you've been hoodwinked or kind of jigger pushed into the idea that if you don't, you know, there's no solution coming forward, and you're going to continue to be confused, and you're going to delay your opportunities of, you know, faithfully moving forward, taking a risk, being happy, having a new beginning, or a new outcome. Something that, if it's to do with work, or let's say to do with work, what's going to show up for you is that you're going to, if it's a promotion you're going after, or a salary pay raise, or just to excuse me, to just have a different be at a different desk, you know, than be doing a different task than what you have been doing, just for something, you know, maybe cross training, or just for something different to do. Now you've been doing this for so long, and you've kind of been watching Susie over there, and she's been doing that, and she seems to like it, but she's ready to move on, and you're thinking, geez, I'd sure like to be considered for that. Even if it's not an upgrade to a salary or a promotion, you'd like to just try something different. And when you are in the mind excuse me, when you're in the mind to where you're not, when you're all wound up and maybe too angry or too resentful or too hurtful about something, way your co-workers, or way you think your boss or your manager is looking at you, and they may be saying things that you're taking as like, they don't like me, so I'll never get anywhere in this company, so I'm not, you know, I have to either decide to stay here and be where I am for the rest of my life. That's okay if I want that, or I've got to find another job because I don't feel like my manager likes me. Whatever it might be, it's just an example. So you step into that energy of confusion because you just like, you know what you want, but you see that you're perhaps there's like a glass ceiling above you because of the personality differences between you and your manager. And your manager's got to like you and support you and promote you in order for you to get that promotion with the higher ups, right? Your manager might have a lot of say about it, but may not have the final say. But whatever your manager tells them is what they're going to believe the manager, because the manager is supposed to be in that position where they can trust what the manager has to say about the staff, right? So you might just be feeling like there's a glass ceiling above you, you're not going to get anywhere. So you're all tied up in a knot, and then you're thinking, yeah, I got to quit. But then it's like, where do I find another job? And then I got to start all over again. Maybe I won't have the benefits, you know. You might have to move. You know, there's a lot of things to have to consider by changing jobs. And you got a lot of seniority perhaps at this particular you know, a lot of time there, but maybe not necessarily that kind of seniority where you have any clout, but you have a lot of skill and time put in. Anyways, you were like in this energy here, and then a little birdie came along and told you that in order for you to step into this kind of energy and to be loving your life, you've got to find a solution. You have got to do something to find a solution. And that was to give it over, right? To give give it over, to cut away. See, this is cutting away the idea that I can't make a decision, that I'm all wrapped up in my mind and I'm never going to change my mind about this person and about this situation. I'm never going to change my mind. Well, the little urges that you're getting, the little birdie that speaks to you from inside said, look, if you want to take a risk and have a new chance at having, you know, be promoted or getting that desk that you want, you're going to have to make a decision about moving, you know, cutting some things out that are no longer serving you anymore. They have already done they've had a time and a place for you. That way of thinking has had a time and a place for you, but you are having to move from one mindset into another, and then at some point in time you're even going to change that. You're going to move even further into a different mindset. Again, that's just growing and evolving as a human being. So we become different people. Have you not noticed that you're not the same person you were when you were a teenager? Maybe you are, but I know I definitely have morphed into a different human being a few times in my lifetime. And it's just crazy to think I used to be like that. And not that it was bad, it's just like it just seems like I was so naive and you know, just not confident. So naive and unconfident. Is that the word? But anyways, definitely not confident. But yeah, so you've been struggling with the idea that you have been feeling the urge that you've got to do something. You've got to find a solution. So the solution is to put it into the hands that will bring the solution forward. If there's no one else that can help you, and you can't seem to help yourself that way because it's out of your hands at this point, like you can't force your manager to like you, is what I'm saying. So unless your manager starts seeing you in a different light, or your manager gets promoted or moved to a different department and they're no longer your manager, or you quit, those are your solutions. And so the divine steps in because it says, you say, I need a solution, please take this from me because I don't know what else to do. I've done everything I could think of, I don't know what else to do. And the divine says, okay, I've got this for you. I always have had this for you, but until you let go of the reins, or until you get off the couch, my angels can't do a dang thing for you. You know, you've got to take your first step. Put your toe in the water first to see the water's part, right? So that you can safely walk across the very wet bed of the river's bed and sink in about 3 feet while you're walking across it. But you're going to get there. You're going to get there. This is better than be washed away by a raging current river, you know, river current, water racing by, that kind of thing. So it's all about you having to say, I can't do this. I don't know what else to do anymore. Your hands go up in the air. You go, I give up. I don't know what to do. That's this. Now you're saying, oh, blah, 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 blah. And then the divine, something tells you that this something's got to change, because I just can't stay in this situation. Something's got to change. You're going to say, isn't there anything better than this? Isn't there, like, something's got to change? Just something's got to change, but I don't know what to do. So that's where you decide, you start getting little whispers of, you think like this, you think like that. You know, in the negative sense, right? The doubtful sense, the confusing sense. You think like this, you think like that. Get rid of those thoughts and bring more light into, because this is shadow, this is like darkness. You bring more light into it, into your mind, and then you start really seeing how you can enlighten yourself, but bolster your thinking, your patterns of thinking, so that you move into this kind of energy here, the King of Pentacles, and then next thing you know, you're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and you're feeling a whole lot better. Solution has come, problem solved. You got the desk. You got the desk, okay? But then you start thinking, oh my God, I'm at a different desk, and my manager, you know, still doesn't like me, but I got the desk. Somehow I got the desk. And it's like, oh my God, am I going to be able to do this, that, and the other thing? Am I actually skillful enough, capable enough, you know, to do this, so that my manager doesn't look at me even worse than they already do, you know, that kind of thing. And so you go through that, you slip back into it again, and then next thing you know, you're kind of pulling yourself out of it after some time, right, where you might be feeling a lot more comfortable at your new job, your new desk, and you're feeling a little bit lighter, and it's not so confusing for you. And then next thing you know, things are starting to move forward. Well, someone else comes along and say, hey, didn't you used to be at that desk and now you're over here? Oh yeah, I just decided to take I don't know what they call it, but you just moved over. You didn't take a promotion or anything like that, you just moved over. And they said, well, that means you can do 2 different things here, or 3 or 4, or however many things you do at one desk, but you've skilled in this way and that way. You know, you're quite valuable now. Why don't you take on this junior position on the next level up? Like I could use someone like that who's willing to learn, you know, to take a risk, to take a leap of faith. And even though it's not like a benefit in the sense of a financial benefit to you or a promotional benefit, status benefit, it's just that you were willing to do this at that same level. There's a word for that, can't think of it. And you're like saying, yes, I've given it to the divine, the solution is showing up, I'm happy, happy, happy. But then it's like, oh shit, I'm back in this again. I'm back in this, you know. But the level of this here in the beginning is a lot less here, and even that much less here. Because why? You quickly turn to the divine. You quickly turn inward and say, what do I got to do? What do I got to do? What worked last time? What do I need to do? Oh yeah, I should think about how I'm thinking. Yeah, I should think about how I'm thinking. And then the Knight of Pentacles. Knight of Pentacles says, yes, you are successful. You are on your path to success, to finishing the race, right? That's success. And so you're going to end up taking things at a pace where, at your new job that you were offered, at a pace where it says you're going to be methodical and strategic about moving, you know, to being becoming very well versed at your new job with the skills you already have attained. You're going to have a chance to be able to prove yourself there, and it's going to be like this energy is going to be the energy that you are committed, you are trustworthy, you are reliable, and your people are going to see that about you. And then there's just more opportunities, right? With the courage and strength card, you're just going to do it. You're going to step into that, because you know now, quickly, you know now. You're trying to avoid having any kind of conflict between you and someone else, or you and you, just you and you. You're going to try to avoid that, right? This, like the Seven of Swords, because you're going to steal those swords, right? You're going to try to avoid the fight, whether it's the inner fight or the fight with something externally to you, by just going directly to you know who. Yeah, up there. That's the stairway to heaven. He's a Hierophant. So you're becoming your own authority, because you approach the authority, the highest authority. Okay, and this doesn't have to be necessarily looking at it from a divine sense. It could be just people in your life that can really guide you, really, really well guide you. Okay, and if you got authority figures like that in your life, people that you see, maybe a friend even, that is like, you think that they're very wise and they give you great advice or give great advice, that might be your authority figure, that you're going to go directly to them first, okay? As soon as you start feeling the sense of gloom and doom about whatever it is that you feel is a problem that needs to find a solution, then you're standing in your strength and courage. You're not holding your life back anymore. You're looking at the ego square in the eyes, and you're taming it, and you're saying, that's fear. That's fear and self-doubt and lacking confidence and you know, feeling all tripped up by my thoughts, my worries and concerns and whatever else. I've got that under control now. I'm managing that. Knight of Cups comes along and says, sweetheart, you are a sweetheart. Knight of Cups is like, this is like someone is going to come again, because you're opening up all these doors, because you're changing your mindset. You're changing the way you have not been managing your mind, your thoughts, your worries, concerns, your anger, whatever it is, your doubts. You've been changing that. So as a result, you're attracting people into your life that want to open some more doors for you. It could be a romantic partner. Sure enough, this could be all about romance as well. But this is like somebody who comes along and sees you and values, like sees the value in you, and says, I've got another job for you, or I got another position for you. And it's like it's a sweet spot where you're going to even see a bump in your pay, even that much more than you've already had. Death, which is death and rebirth. You got transformation, death and major change and transformation. You talk about you did this, right? You get into this energy and this energy. Now, what's next? That's all you have to ask. That's all you need to know, is that your question is now, what's next? What's next? What could possibly be next? Well, when it comes to the divine, or you just seeking wisdom through someone or by the divine, through someone's, maybe more than one person. You might have a team of friends or professionals that you could, pick their mind at when you've got something that you need to find a solution for, but you are mastering it. That's what this is all about, the 11. You're mastering the ability to solve your problems, okay? This one started right here. Then this one says, look, all I do is I give it to the divine, and bam, it might take a few weeks or a month, or it might take a few seconds, but you're going to get the solution right there. It's going to come to you either by way of a thought. Oh, I never thought of that. I could do that. Or I could call this person. Oh, I never even thought of that, or it shows up in the mail, or somebody comes by and gives you this idea, and it is, you never know how it's going to show up. But in any case, you've got some major changes coming that are going to be like such a sweet deal. You're going to love your life. And I said that before. You're going to love it. If you're not already in love with it, you're going to even love it even more. So, Aries, I hope that you enjoyed this, and please let me know if this really resonated with you, if what's going on with you, that you have something going on that you haven't been able to find a solution to. I'd love to hear about it. And please like and subscribe, and take care of yourself. Bye for now.